Have you ever noticed something strange? You spend weeks, sometimes months, working towards something. You tell yourself, once I finally finish this, once I get into that college, once I lose the weight, once I get the job, then I'll finally feel proud of myself. And then it happens. You achieve the thing. Maybe you smile for a few minutes, maybe you celebrate for a day, but not long after, your brain quietly moves the finish line. Now it's about the next exam, the next promotion, the next goal, the next version of you. And somehow, despite accomplishing things your past self would have dreamed of, you still feel like you're behind. So what happened? Did you become ungrateful? Too ambitious? Or is your brain doing something you never realized? Because if you've ever felt like nothing you do is ever enough, the problem might not be your standards. It might be the way your brain measures progress. And understanding that changes everything.
Your brain isn't designed to make you feel accomplished. It's designed to keep you moving. Imagine if every time our ancestors found food, their brains said, "Perfect, you can stop trying now." They probably wouldn't have survived very long. Instead, our brains evolved to quickly adapt to improvement. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. But you don't need to remember the name. You only need to remember what it means. The moment something becomes normal, your brain stops treating it as special. Your current life was once someone else's dream, maybe even yours. The phone you're holding, the friends you have, the skills you've built, the place you're studying. At one point, you wanted those things. Now, they're just normal. Not because they aren't valuable, but because your brain got used to them.
And that's where the real problem begins. Most people think they aren't proud of themselves because they haven't achieved enough. But what if it's the opposite? What if you've simply stopped noticing your achievements? Think about learning to ride a bicycle. The first time you stayed balanced, it felt incredible. Now you don't even think about it. The same thing happens with everything else. Speaking another language, driving, presenting in front of people, getting into university, losing weight, making friends. Your brain files those achievements away as, well, that's just who I am now. Which sounds harmless, until you realize something. If every achievement becomes your new normal, then you'll always feel like you're standing still, even while you're moving forward. But that's only half the story, because there's another habit quietly stealing your sense of accomplishment. Comparison. And it's sneaky. Not because you compare yourself to people who have more. Everyone knows that. The real problem is, you compare your present to someone else's highlight reel, while comparing their present to your entire history. You know every mistake you've made, every opportunity you've missed, every day you weren't productive. But when you look at someone else, you only see the finished product. It's like comparing the backstage of your life to everyone else's movie trailer. Of course you'll feel behind. The comparison was never fair to begin with. So how do you actually start feeling proud again? Surprisingly, you don't need to achieve more. You need to notice more. Here's something to try. Instead of asking yourself, what haven't I done yet? Ask yourself, what would my past self think of my life today? Not the version of you from last week. Go back 5 years, maybe even 10. Would they believe you'd make it this far? Would they believe you'd solve problems that once terrified you? Would they recognize the person you've become? Because your past self is the only comparison that actually measures growth. Not perfection, growth.
And here's one more thing. At the end of each day, write down one thing you handled better than the version of yourself from a year ago. Not something impressive, something real. Maybe you stayed calm instead of panicking. Maybe you spoke up. Maybe you kept a promise to yourself. Maybe you simply got through a difficult day. Your brain naturally records what's missing. You have to intentionally record what's improving. And maybe that's the biggest misunderstanding of all. We think feeling proud is something we earn, that one day,
After enough success, our brains will finally say, "You've made it." But they probably won't, because your brain isn't built to stop chasing the next thing. That's your job. To pause, to look back, to notice the distance you've already traveled. Because achievement doesn't automatically create pride. Awareness does. And maybe the person who thinks they're falling behind is actually someone who's been moving forward for so long, they forgot to turn around and see how far they've come.